When first presented with this project, I thought it would be challenging to find 7 cases of plant disease to discuss on a weekly basis. This, however, was not the case. Plant disease is all around us. As my video illustrates, plant disease can be found in our own landscapes, in the produce we purchase at the grocery store, and the trees that fill our neighborhoods. By piecing together the symptoms and signs we observe in diseased plants, we can begin the process of diagnosing the problem. I found this project very helpful in fine-tuning my own thought process in determining plant disease diagnosis. For week 1 of disease in the landscape, for the past year and a half, I have seen leaf discoloration on my boxwoods. There are leaves that have light yellow spots turning into larger brownish areas with chlorotic halos. Just glancing, I thought that it might be the beginnings of boxwood blight, but there are no areas of major dieback. Upon closer examination of individual leaves, the problem becomes pretty apparent. Boxwood leaf miner. Close shot here. We see the blisters on the undersides of leaves, and we see the pupal skin pushed from the mine. This usually happens in May, which helps solidify the diagnosis because this is the right time of year. The impact in my landscape is that it has spread to all of my boxwood bushes. A possible solution would be pruning in May, also pinching the leaves to kill the larvae, and encouraging beneficial predators like spiders and lacewings, and also application of pesticides after new leaves are fully developed. For week 2 of the key disease and pest video, I had a neighbor ask me about her zinnias, which are exhibiting large holes and looks like chewed foliage from an insect, which I thought might be the first cause. But examining the plants, I see no insects, and now I'm wondering if maybe it is some sort of bacterial disease, because we're seeing, especially like on this plant, brown lesions, kind of angular, which are then turning to the large holes, which is probably the necrotic tissue dropping out. Also, it is a raised bed, so I think that insects would have like slugs would have a hard time reaching the plants. But you can see how it is spread across the entire bed. And there's a second bed over here that is not really showing any signs. So it seems to be contained to that bed. And I think if it were insects, that it would be affecting both beds. So I believe that the disease might be caused by splash from irrigation, because it is irrigated overhead, and thinking it's more of a bacterial disease. For week 3 of the disease and pest compendium, my sister mentioned that in the past few weeks her strawberries have developed curled leaves, kind of puckered with some chlorotic areas. There's 2 plants. And I'm interested because strawberry is my host plant for the weekly assignment of common pests and pathogens. And at first I was thinking this could be a viral infection, which often manifests symptoms of twisted, curled leaves with chlorotic areas. And upon examination and asking my sister a few questions, I think the issue may be more abiotic in nature. Looking at the plants, I don't see any insect damage or signs or symptoms of fungal infection. Questioning my sister, she got the plants from a neighbor, and they were planted in newly bought potting mix. And the other plants that she transplanted into a bed further on in the yard are surrounded by grass and receive some shade in the afternoon, and they are not showing symptoms. So now I'm wondering if this is there might be a nutrient deficiency, or perhaps the location of the planters, which is on concrete, might be contributing to some heat stress. And the watering has been somewhat irregular. Problems could be like calcium or iron deficiencies, which tend to show in the young leaves first since they're mobile. But iron deficiencies maybe could account for the intraveinal chlorosis. For week 4 of my disease and pest compendium videos, this is a tree I passed on my way to work. As you can hear, it's near a road. It's a pine and it's next to another pine. We'll get out too far the road here. But we see that it has dieback, lots of lateral branches towards the bottom, dieback all the way up through the tree. I thought maybe possibly road stress, but since of last week's activity with Bruce's tree farm, I'm wondering now if it's Diplodia, and I was collecting cones on the ground to see if I could find the pycnidia on the cones, which I think I found one with the raised black areas. Kind of hard to get into focus there, but around the bottom of the cone. So I think that this might be Diplodia needle blight. There's a second tree next to it that looks like it's also getting it, so that kind of goes with the spread of the disease. But I was just curious because of last week's activity, and I think that we have Diplodia needle blight, and the impact on the environment is it's spreading to the next tree, and maybe spreading to pines that are down in the woods near here. For week 5 of the key disease and pest video, I was still on the lookout for disease this week. I was grocery shopping this morning and found this display of organic peaches that was in a state of decay. At first glance in the store, I thought we might have gray mold, but in further inspection, I think we might have a different disease. I still think it's fungal in nature because of these velvety masses of like Mycelium conidia on the peaches. You can see kind of different stages of it. There's some soft lesions on the last peach. Really to know what it is, we'd have to look under a microscope. It could be like penicillium or maybe white mold, which is common in food spoilage also. The impact of this disease is there's a great amount of food loss. Like I asked the produce manager if I could film in the store, and he asked that I not, which I understand, but the rest of the packages were spoiling like this. And this is a great economic loss to growers, grocery stores, and eventually consumers. For week 6 of the pest and pathogen video compendium, I think this is a case of witch's broom, which can be caused by, I think, bacteria or fungus. You can see the dead tips of the branches, but as you get closer, you can see these kind of bunched growth of a maple. Not what a maple grows like. It's dense clusters of growth kind of on the branch, and then short and stocky, and the leaves kind of are whorled and twisted. The growth around the witch's broom area becomes less vigorous, as you can see these tips bare, dieback. And I think this might be because of lack of nutrients getting to the ends of the branches. Possible environmental impact is there's another tree here. It's not as bad, but you can see the tips of the branches are beginning to die. So it's spreading, I'm guessing. And I've read that you could maybe trim out infected pieces, but this entire tree is infected, so you have like loss of the entire tree. For the last week of our key disease pest compendium, I'm focusing on this group of trees that I spotted on my way to the store the other day. As you can see from this distant viewpoint, the trees are experiencing some severe dieback, and some of the trees are almost completely brown. At first I thought we might be seeing some kind of chemical damage from an herbicide, but looking at how some of the trees are experiencing dieback more severely on one half of the tree, I'm wondering if we might be suffering from some verticillium wilt, which this half dieback is a symptom of. Examining the leaves, the disease appears to be starting on the margins of older leaves. Newer leaves appear to be relatively healthy. Verticillium is a soil-borne fungus which affects the vascular systems of plants and disrupts water and nutrient distribution. Cutting off a few of the branches, I do not see brown streaks in the vascular tissue, which is another symptom of verticillium verticillium wilt. So the trees might be suffering from some other kind of stress, but looking at the two healthy trees in the middle here, I don't think it's a case of water stress. As you can see, the impact of the disease is that it's spreading along this whole line of trees, and eventually you're looking at total loss of the trees. They're going to need to be cut down, and they cannot be composted because the disease can also spread in this way.